Well, hello again. Thank you for joining me for Mondays with Mike. It is May the 23rd, I think. And oh my gosh, it's been such a busy day. I don't know why, because the storms already passed. I mean, we have big storms Saturday night, Sunday morning. I don't know why I'm so busy today, but I am. And I got some questions, some good questions that I'm going to answer. I have a couple of cool things that I want to point out that happened on, across the country. Well, actually, one of them was cool. One of them was actually very tragic. And so let me just qualify that by saying one of them was awful. Answering a couple of questions. We're talking about El Nino, La Nina. And also, I did want to tell you that I have a problem, too, with my Apple Watch. So, got this for Christmas, and I really like it. But sometimes I will say something while I'm on the air that will trigger Siri. So today I said something like, I think I said the word serious. Like this is going to be a serious thing. See?
I'm not sure I understand.
You see? So if I said, here, let me turn it off again. If I said, tornadoes are going to be a very serious thing up in Canada. It's going to be really serious. It's not working now, but you heard. So, I said something about serious weather, and then she starts talking about Canada in the middle of a weathercast. So anyway, thank you once again for joining me. I've moved locations today. I'm here in front of the BAM monitor, the BA monitor. You could figure out what A stands for, BA monitor. So let's see, what do I want to start out talking about? I was going to start out talking about what happened here over the weekend, which was this really amazing, it's not that I've never seen it before. I mean, we've seen this before from time to time, but it's rare. And it's always neat when it happens, is that guy right there was an area of low pressure that formed late yesterday. So at about 5 p.m. yesterday, I forget exactly what time, 4 or 5 p.m., the National Hurricane Center went ahead, and when they came out with their tropical storm outlook, they put a yellow X on this system, showing that it was an area of investigation. And you say, oh my goodness, is it going to be a tropical system? It was just right there, right there. I'll show you here if you can hear me. Let's see, right there, see? It was an area of low pressure that developed out there in the Gulf just off to the south of Mobile. Now, if it had more time...
You don't have anything on your calendar for now. Just tell me if you'd like me to create it.
No, thank you, Siri.
Okay, I won't create the event.
Also, you'll notice I have the Australian lady voice on my Siri. Anyway, so this area of low pressure formed. It was, if it had stayed over water, even for just a few more hours, I think we would have had the first tropical depression of the season. As it turned out, though, it was moving pretty fast off toward the north, and so it made a landfall, or basically moved inland near Pensacola, between Mobile and Pensacola, before it had a chance of intensifying. So, but it's a reminder for those of us who live here on the Gulf Coast that these systems can form really fast, and sometimes in unexpected places, and sometimes before any of the models could even see that something like that's going to happen. So this didn't turn out to be any sort of a terrible system at all. You know, it didn't have high winds. It did bring a lot of rain, though, to Georgia and Alabama, but I just thought it was real interesting. I think I have a closer up view, yeah. So if you can see here, I have this closer view of, you could right there, easily see that swirl, that counterclockwise circulation, right there, as it moved inland to the east of Mobile Bay, and then it spread some, at least the chance for some severe weather. I think there were some warnings, some severe thunderstorm warnings that were up for parts of Alabama and Georgia. But anyway, it's a curiosity, especially since after it moved inland, it actually looked like the circulation was more impressive than it was before. Okay, now this is really interesting too. So shout out to Laura B, who posted a lot of terrific questions for me. But it was such a coincidence that one of the questions that Laura asked was, what kind of weather does Canada get? Like as far as severe weather. Like we know around here that we get tornadoes and we get hail and we have hurricanes, of course, here on the Gulf Coast. What about Canada? Obviously, aside from cold air and snow. Well, they could actually get a lot of tornadoes in Canada, which I'll show you in a moment, but they had a really significant severe weather outbreak right after I was reading Laura's questions. So we're talking about this area up here. So look at like the lower left-hand portion of your screen where you see Toronto and then Ottawa. This fast-moving thing, zip, right there. That thing is called a derecho. A derecho. So derecho in Spanish is like straight ahead. So these are squall lines. We get squall lines here all the time. Here in Texas, it's like a linear row of storms, and they sort of move across, and they generally bring high winds and heavy rain, lots of lightning, and all of that stuff. This one, though, is like a squall line on steroids. So there are certain criteria as far as how long it lasts and how big it has to be classified as a derecho versus a squall line. But the thing is, with derechos, like that one right there, they can cover at least 250 miles of length, okay? And they have to be a certain amount wide. I don't remember how wide it is. Maybe it's 100 miles, 200 miles, maybe it's more. But the bottom line is they're very long-lived. They could last for hour after hour after hour. And the wind speed minimum is at 58 miles per hour. They could gust up to 100 miles per hour. So this one in particular, in Canada, okay, this was in the Canadian province of Ontario and Quebec. This one left a trail of destruction from Toronto to Ottawa, back over to Quebec City, knocked down trees, knocked out electricity, damaged homes. And last I read, at least 8 people were killed by this derecho. So it wasn't even a tornado, wasn't a hurricane or anything like that, this derecho feature. We don't get them here often, sometimes we do. There have been some big derechos recently. Sometimes, there was one a few years ago that they called a land hurricane because it started taking on this swirly kind of shape and was just one of those wonders of Mother Nature. But anyway, this is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all up there in Canada. Here's a closer look at it right there. Ottawa is the capital of Canada, and there it is blowing right through. And that was accompanied by very, very high winds. Let's see, we'll take it right back here. Oh, I wanted to talk about the tornadoes in Canada. So Laura was asking about severe weather and so forth, and so we just saw the derecho. And as far as tornadoes in Canada, they form in 2 main areas, and they do get a lot of tornadoes, by the way, big ones. A lot of times they happen in the summertime, and we're talking about these 3 provinces. So this is Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. These are the plains, because British Columbia is mountainous. So that's basically the same as like Washington State or Oregon. They don't really get a lot of tornadoes. But these are the plains. So this is just north of the Dakotas, where they get frequent tornadoes. And so Calgary, in fact, there was a historic tornado that hit Edmonton and Alberta, and that one was deadly. I don't remember what year. It was many, many years ago, maybe like in the 50s or 60s. Long, long time ago. There's another second area that just so happens to coincide with the area that got the derecho. It's right here, north of New York State and north of Ohio, where you have part of Ontario that's pretty far to the south. It's interesting if you look at the map, everybody thinks Canada is so far north, but there's a lot of Canada that's south of parts of the United States. This little area of Ontario, it's south of Detroit, for example. So that's another location where they do get tornadoes in Canada. All right, so Laura, shout out to you. I've got more Laura questions coming up in future episodes, I'm sure. Hold on, I need my glasses here for a minute. Okay, so cooking with Trish. Hello, Trish. Cooking with Trish said, I have a question. Something I've always wanted to know is, how do the names for hurricanes and tropical storms get chosen? That is an excellent question, Trish. And you may not, most people don't know the answer, right? It's not the United States government and it's not meteorologists. It actually is the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, which is a part of the United Nations. So they come up with all of the lists of hurricanes around the world. So we are in what's called the Atlantic Basin. So we go in alphabetical order, like the first name this year is Alex. And so we go in alphabetical order, although there are only 21 letters are used, like they skip Q and a few others, X. But so we have 21 names, alphabetical order, and they are either English names, Spanish names, or French names, because those are the languages in the countries that are affected by those hurricanes, like the United States, Latin America, the islands of the Caribbean, where they speak French and Spanish and so forth. So that's why they use those names. And so the names have to be approved by the WMO, and names have to be retired. Like they just retired Hurricane Ida, which is the one that hit New Orleans last year, one of the ones. And so that name's gone from the list, and then they have to take new nominations, and they proceed from there. What's interesting is that on their list, on the WMO list for names, if you go to other parts of the world, they have different naming conventions, and it's not alphabetical, because not everybody uses that like Latin-based alphabet like we do, A, B, C, D, E. So if you go over to the Pacific Ocean, the storms that affect countries like Vietnam and China, Japan, they actually have a rotating list of names that are chosen by each country. So there are going to be some names on the list that are Japanese names, and some names are Chinese names, and some names might be Vietnamese names or others. And they're not in alphabetical order. And also, the Philippines have their own naming system. So you'll find every once in a while, if you really keep up with stuff, and we'll cover it once in a while if it's a really huge typhoon, which is the same thing as a hurricane. The Philippines will have their own name for it, and then there will be the, quote unquote, official name from the WMO for that storm. So it'll say something like, this is Typhoon, oh gosh, I can't even think of a name. Let's just say it's Typhoon Laura, okay, / Trish. And it'll be because one name is the Philippines name and the other name is on the official list. So anyway, inside baseball, right? The last thing I want to talk about is the El Nino and the La Nina, because a lot of people ask about that. Now, I want to let you know, we're going to be going into this in a lot of detail on our hurricane special. We're putting together a hurricane special called Are You Ready? It's going to air this Friday, the 27th at 9 p.m. If you miss it then, it'll be on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. And, we'll have it on our website, of course. But one of the things we're going to talk about is the influence of this, which is called the La Nina, the influence of the La Nina on this year's hurricane season. Let me put my glasses here. So basically what you have is there's an oscillation, there's a back and forth sloshing, if you will, of pressure and water in the Pacific Ocean, okay? So we're here, but the water down here actually has a pretty big impact on our hurricane season, believe it or not. So on about a cycle of every 3 to 5 years or so, you have this back and forth of high pressure, low pressure, kind of switching from the eastern Pacific Ocean to the western Pacific Ocean, okay? And then based on the strength of those highs and lows, you get more favorable conditions for the water to become colder if the winds are blowing stronger this way, okay? Because it actually pushes water away from the coastline of Peru, and then water that's under the surface, that might be 100 feet down and is cold, comes up. That's called upwelling. So it gets much colder over there off the coast of South America, and we call that a La Nina. The opposite, of course, is the El Nino. When these winds are weaker, you have warmer than normal temperatures. You have the El Nino, which is Spanish for the boy or the child or the baby, which goes with Christ, which was, it was generally noticed by the fishermen there around Christmas. And so they called it El Nino, like the Christ child, because they noticed it around December. And it changed the types of fish they can catch and things like that because the water is warmer. Anyway, what we've discovered is this, that during El Nino years, which we're not in now, but during El Nino years, you tend to have a stronger jet stream, more shear across the Atlantic Ocean, okay? Why? Because you're warmer here and you're colder there. And the bigger the difference is between the warm to the south and the cold to the north, stronger the winds blow. So that shears across hurricanes and prevents them from really forming as much in the Atlantic Ocean, even though this is all happening thousands of miles away. What we're in now is called a La Nina, and we're actually going to be talking on the Hurricane Special about what's called the triple dip La Nina, which follows the double dip La Nina. But it really just means that we're kind of stuck in a La Nina pattern right now, which is why you see all the blue. The blue represents areas that are experiencing cold anomalies below normal temperatures in the Pacific. When you have a La Nina set up, that jet stream that flows across the Gulf of Mexico and into the Atlantic, that jet stream gets weaker, okay? So you have much lighter winds aloft, which means that those hurricanes can form more easily. And the statistics are not even close. If you compare a strong La Nina to a strong El Nino, the El Nino is going to cut your number of storms approximately in half. So if the average year has 12 named storms and let's say 7 hurricanes, 6 or 7 hurricanes, El Nino year on average will have like 7 hurricanes or 7 named storms and like 2 or 3 hurricanes, maybe 1 major. Strong La Nina, you'll have a ton of hurricanes and you'll have about twice the number of major hurricanes versus a El Nino. So these oscillations of water in the Pacific have really wide-ranging consequences. One of them is the Texas drought, by the way. The fact that we're in a La Nina is one of the factors that we're also in the middle of a serious drought in Texas. But it also favors bigger hurricanes, so we shall see. So shout out to Laura and Trish. If you want to leave me a question, I would love to answer it in the future. If you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook, please write it down in the comment section. Also, please give a thumbs up because that makes me look good if you do that. And again, please watch our Hurricane Special coming up this Friday. It's busy. We are so busy. And I've put together an interview with one of my weather idols. So we're going to include some of that in the special. We're going to have a piece that I'm going to put together here on the triple dip La Nina. We have Lena Maria is going to give you the forecast from NOAA for this upcoming hurricane season. JD has all kind of stuff from his hurricane gear test. He's always got stuff back in the weather office. He's got a 10,000 watt generator back there in the weather office, so he might be firing that up for the hurricane special. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for joining me for Mondays with Mike today, and I hope to see you again next week. Thanks so much for watching.